As someone who has struggled with jealousy a lot throughout life and is finally at a space where I don't even experience that shit no more, I do want to talk about jealousy and like how to get through that shit, because it is a very intense emotion. And I feel like the way that we talk about it, like in pop culture, is like people will be like, oh yeah, jealousy is a normal emotion, and then continue to go like all the way to fuck in on somebody that is jealous. Or like we'll see people talk about you gotta pray that shit away, and it's like all that shit is true, but it gotta go hand in motherfucking hand. So I go back to the shit. When I was in college, that's when I first started to notice that I had a problem with jealousy, and it wasn't like it was like a type of jealousy that consumed me, you know. I remember I actually had dropped out of college because I got my fucking heart broke, okay, and I needed some time away from school. I couldn't even be around that motherfucker. So I dropped out of school. Then when I came back, it was like junior year, and I was still like in sophomore year or whatever. And I began to notice that everybody was, they were in their majors, doing well, thriving, getting their internships. Everybody about to graduate, and I'm still like behind. I don't even know what the fuck I'm doing in my major. I'm a communications major. So I was like, I gotta do something about this, because like I'm to the point where I can't even like congratulate my peers on like what they got going on and really feel in my spirit that I'm happy for them, right? And I know that like everything goes back to this for me, but there were so many reasons as to why I left college and went to the military. But I ended up leaving the military, and when I got there, I started to feel really, really good about myself. And like one thing I will say about jealousy, like in the short answer, in the short motherfucking form, you gotta just turn up on yourself. You gotta turn yourself the fuck up. Like, you know, notice the things that you get jealous about. You know, when I got to college, not to college, when I got to the military and I got out, or not even when I got out, but when I started to like go around like back home, and I started noticing like, oh, bitch is getting money, like bitch is getting, they turning themselves up, they wearing designer shit, you know, like everybody get money, you know. Everybody pretty now, like, you know, and I'm still feeling like, oh, I'm stuck in the past. Like I'm stuck like in this era of life where like, yeah, for that time it was considered thriving, but like now it's like I didn't feel that way about myself. So that shit caused me to go into like extreme isolation. And when I did, I started to like do things for myself, and I just had to like cut everything the fuck out and really just focus and like, you know, focus on myself as far as like things that I like, going out alone, getting into with my spirituality, religion, whatever. And fast forward to like this year, when I get the BPD diagnosis, I realized that I started doing my research, and with BPD you have a very unstable sense of self. So to me, that shit really just put. So yeah, so having an unstable sense of self is a symptom of BPD, and that shit really just put everything together for me. It made sense as to why like I couldn't congratulate my peers, like even like friends that were close to me. Like I would feel jealous of like their unique gifts or like things that they had, their beauty, their, you know, everything. Seeing them just elevate in life, like it would make me feel small. And just seeing that I had an unstable sense of self, it made sense. Like that's something that is with BPD. It's like, okay, like because for me it's like I look back at myself and I realize like I've always been this person, I've always been me, but I just have always questioned it because I didn't feel validated in who I was. So I had to take that time to learn how to validate myself, and you know, learn how to not rely on validation from other people, because that shit it didn't really, you know, just as a basic need as human beings, we need validation from the outside world, which is why we try so hard as human beings to fit into trends and like society, because it is a necessity to have human validation. But it's not, the human outside validation isn't supposed to outweigh the validation that we give ourselves, right? So learning about me having an unstable sense of self, it just brought all of this shit together. It's like, okay, and I'm just able to have more compassion and like empathy for my older self, for my younger self, because I realized that I always felt like I was unique and I was special and I was amazing and I had these wonderful gifts. But I've always questioned them when I went around other people, and that is what made me jealous. It's not that I wanted to hate them, but I know that for me, like, I didn't like feeling jealous. That shit actually made me really fucking depressed, like feeling like I couldn't like congratulate other people. And I got to a point where I talk about this shit so much because I feel like it's something that is in the fucking air. Like it's a thick energy, that is like spread around the world, and people don't talk about it enough. And it kind of like puts a sense of shame on it. And when you suppress jealousy for so long, like it's gonna come out in other ways. And I say this all the time, as a person who struggled with jealousy, and I don't struggle with the shit no more, you can see it from a mile away. You can feel it. It's an energy. Like it's so easy to pick out. You get what I'm saying? And even in relationships, like I would just get so jealous, like when my person was like talking to somebody else, or if somebody was trying to talk to them, like I just would feel like this overwhelming jealousy. And it's because it's like I wasn't confident in my sense of self. I didn't have a stable sense of self, to the point where, it would feel like, oh, well, if somebody else is talking to them like that, made me feel like they had a chance, you know? And my thing is, at the end of the day, what I had to learn, this diagnosis really has made me realize that shit can happen. Like, they absolutely can go outside a relationship and get validation from somebody else and cheat. But that shit ain't got nothing to do with who the fuck I am. At the end of the day, I'm still amazing, and if you decide to go out and do what you do, that's on you, you know? And I don't have to be jealous of, especially for me, like, I love dating beautiful people. Like, that's always been a thing for me. So it comes with it. Like, it's gonna be people trying to talk to them all the time. And for me, it's like, I don't have to feel like my spot is being compromised every time you step out the fucking house. I don't have to feel that way, because I understand that who I am is who the fuck I am. Okay, I know who I am. I know what I bring, and I don't have to be insecure about that. Even though it is something that is a possibility, it's like I don't have to think about that even being a possibility, because at the end of the day, whatever happens outside of me, regardless, it's not going to change the fact that I have a good foundation for my sense of self, right? But I do understand that we do kind of go in on jealousy as a society and pop culture, because most people aren't willing to look at them. I don't even want to say fucking most people, because there's a lot of people in the world that's really willing to like look at themselves and be like, bitch, you have a jealousy problem and you need to sit with yourself for a little while and figure out what the fuck is going on, right? But I will say that I struggle with it, and I'm grateful that I have the gift to be vulnerable and like talk about it, because it's a very touchy subject. Nobody want to be known as a fucking hater. Nobody want to be a jealous ass bitch. Like, that's just not what you want for yourself. But if you have that, if you struggle with that, you got to be real with yourself, because it's gonna block your blessings. It's gonna get in the way of shit that you really trying to fucking accomplish. It's gonna get in the way of people coming into your life and being able to help you out. It's gonna get in the way of you being able to learn shit from other people. Like, it's gonna block so much shit just having so much hate. And I don't want to even say hate, because jealousy and hate are not the same thing. But it's gonna block you from receiving things that are for you. But one thing that I did start to do, like, I started to like compliment people more. If I felt that shit coming up inside of me, like, I would just give out a fucking compliment. Like, if I feel like, you know, and I also, another thing I started to do and realize was that, like, if I see somebody that's really beautiful, like, I will notice that the reason why I see the beauty in you is because I see it in myself, you know. And another thing, I stopped talking about people, and I'm not going to sit here and act like I don't get messy, okay, because I will have to keep with my friends, but I keep that shit to a very fucking small minimum, okay? And I don't talk about people's looks, and I don't talk about, and if I am ever talking about somebody, it's their fucking character. And I don't even do too much on that, because it's shit that motherfuckers could say about me too. But I keep that shit at a fucking minimum. I give out compliments, I keep it at a minimum. And if I ever, like, I don't struggle with jealousy anymore, but if I ever feel that bitch trying to creep up in my life, I sit and I remind myself and I say, you know what? Your sense of self is strong. You have a good foundation. It's no reason to feel threatened or insecure about what somebody else has, about what someone else has, because it won't take away from anything that you have. So I hope that I explained that very well.